close your eyes and step back in time, before smartphones, before endless scrolling, before life sped up. It's the 1980s in Great Britain. The clink of milk bottles at dawn, the glow of Saturday morning TV, the thrill of choosing sweets from a jar. Streets felt friendlier, music felt bigger, and the little things seemed to matter more. Some of it's gone, some of it's changed, but all of it lives on in our memories. Today we're opening that time capsule and reliving 10 things we miss most from the 80s in Great Britain. Number 10. Red phone boxes on every corner. In the 1980s, the red phone box was as much a part of Britain's streets as the post box or the corner shop. You didn't carry your phone back then, your phone waited for you. The moment you spotted that flash of bright crimson, you knew you could reach someone, even miles away. You'd step inside, the heavy door creaking shut, and suddenly the outside world dimmed. There was the metallic scent of coins, the faint smell of damp paper from the telephone directory, and the hum of the line in your ear. Sometimes your breath would fog the glass in winter as you tried to remember a number by heart. You might have to queue, especially on a rainy evening, and you'd overhear snatches of other people's lives, quick goodbyes, long-distance romances, or hurried news from home. The red phone box was more than a utility. It was a gathering place, a point of reassurance, and occasionally a refuge from the cold. Today, most have vanished, or been turned into miniature libraries and plant displays. But for those who remember, that small echoing space felt like a link to the world, one that didn't fit in your pocket, but stood proudly on the corner, waiting. Number 9. Saturday morning TV. In the 80s, Saturday mornings had a rhythm of their own. You'd wake up without an alarm, the sun just peeking through the curtains, and pad downstairs in your pajamas. Cereal in hand, you'd settle in front of the telly for hours of children's programming. Going Live, Saturday Superstore, and Swap Shop weren't just shows, they were events. You'd watch live interviews, silly sketches, cartoons, and pop performances, all stitched together with a cheerful chaos that felt like anything could happen. There was a shared magic in knowing everyone else your age was watching too. On Monday morning, the playground would buzz with talk of the funniest moment or the best guest. There was no skipping ahead or watching later. If you missed it, you missed it. And somehow that made it even more special. Parents would wander in and out, occasionally getting drawn into the fun, and the living room became the family's gathering point. The commercials between shows were part of the memory too, little windows into the toys and sweets we dream about. Today, with endless choice at our fingertips, the idea of everyone tuning in together feels almost impossible. But in the 80s, Saturday morning TV was a weekly moment we all shared. Number 8. The milkman. Before supermarkets became the one-stop shop for everything, the milkman was an essential part of the street's morning heartbeat. Long before most of us were awake, the sound of glass bottles clinking gently against one another marked the start of the day. You'd opened a door to find fresh milk waiting, cool, creamy, and often with a foil cap that kids loved to peel back. In winter, the cream might rise to the top and freeze into a little dome you could scoop out. The milkman was more than just a delivery driver, he was part of the neighbourhood. You knew his name, and he knew yours. Sometimes he'd stop for a quick chat, passing on a smile or a bit of news before moving to the next house. It wasn't just milk either. Eggs, juice, even bread would arrive with him. There was comfort in the routine, in knowing that no matter what, the milk would be there. Over time, supermarkets and plastic cartons took over, and the early morning clink became rarer. But for those who remember, the milkman wasn't just delivering dairy, he was delivering a small, dependable kindness, one doorstep at a time. The local sweet shop. There was nothing quite like stepping into your local sweet shop in the 80s. The bell above the door would tinkle as you entered, and the smell of sugar and licorice hit you instantly. Behind the counter, shelves of glass jars stood like colourful soldiers: pear drops, rhubarb and custards, cola cubes, sherbet lemons, and toffee bonbons. The shopkeeper, often someone who'd known you since you were small, would patiently scoop your chosen sweets into a paper bag, weighing them carefully before handing them over. Even a few pennies felt like treasure in your hand, enough to buy a little burst of happiness. For kids, it wasn't just about the sweets. It was about independence, the joy of choosing exactly what you wanted, the excitement of handing over coins and getting change. The sweet shop was also a hub of quiet gossip and neighbourly chats. Over time, these little shops began to vanish, replaced by supermarkets and vending machines. But the memory lingers of sticky fingers, crinkly paper bags, and the simple thrill of watching those colourful jars empty just a little into your bag. Number 6. British Rail Sandwiches. They weren't perfect. In fact, they were often the subject of jokes. Sandwiches with curled bread edges and fillings that had seen better days. But British Rail sandwiches were part of the adventure. Buying one was almost a ritual. You'd wander to the buffet car or kiosk, pick up a sandwich in its plastic wrap, and pair it with tea in a polystyrene cup. Then you'd settle by the window, unwrapping it as the train pulled through green fields or industrial towns. There was something reassuring in its ordinariness. It didn't need to be fancy, it was simply train food. Sometimes you'd chat with strangers, both of you chewing as the countryside blurred past. Today's train food might be fresher, fancier, and more varied, but it doesn't carry the same shared experience. British Rail sandwiches are a reminder of a time when travel itself was the treat, and the food was just part of the story. Number 5. Public service announcements. In the 1980s, public service announcements, PSAs, were everywhere, and they left a lasting mark. They weren't just background noise between shows, they were moments you stopped and listened. Some were cheerful, like the Green Cross Codeman teaching children how to cross the road safely. Others were far more serious, warning about the dangers of water, electricity, or drink driving. Many were unforgettable, those haunting voices, stark images, and no-nonsense narration. The aim was clear, to make you remember, even years later, and it worked. Kids would repeat the road safety rhymes in the playground. Parents would mention the latest campaign over dinner. These weren't ads trying to sell you something. They were there to protect you, to make you think twice. In a world without smartphones or constant news feeds, PSAs were an important way of getting vital information into homes. Today, safety campaigns still exist, but they're scattered across social media and YouTube, easy to scroll past or forget. The old PSAs had weight. They became part of our shared language. Looking back, they feel like another example of how the country was speaking to you directly, face to face, with a simple, heartfelt message. Pay attention. This matters. Number 4. Woolworths. Woolies, to everyone who loved it, was the high street's treasure chest. In the 1980s, a trip there was never just a quick errand. You'd push through the doors and be greeted by aisles that seemed to stretch forever. The famous pick and mix section glistened like a rainbow, inviting you to fill your paper bag with as much as your pocket money would allow. You could wander over to the record section, flipping through vinyl and cassette tapes, dreaming of the day you could afford your favorite album. In another aisle, toys waited, bright and colorful, especially magical at Christmas. But Woolworths wasn't just for treats. You could pick up light bulbs, school supplies, homeware, and even a kettle, all in one go. It was the kind of shop where you went in for batteries and came out with a bag full of unexpected finds. Everyone, young or old, had a reason to stop by. When Woolworths closed in 2008, it felt like losing a friend. For those who remember the 80s, it wasn't just a store, it was part of the rhythm of everyday life, a place where small joys were always just around the corner. Number 3. Paper bus tickets. Before smartphones and contactless cards, a bus ticket was a tangible little slice of your journey. In the 1980s, you'd step onto the bus, greet the driver or conductor, and hand over your fare. Out came the click and whir of the ticket machine, printing your small strip of coloured paper. You'd hold it carefully, fold it neatly, or tuck it into your pocket like something valuable. Kids often collected them, comparing the different colours and numbers, while adults treated them as proof of purchase, a little passport to your destination. Losing it meant trouble, so you kept it close. There was something comforting in that moment of exchange, a brief human connection before you found your seat. The tickets themselves had a certain smell, a mix of ink and fresh paper, that made them instantly recognizable. Over time, they disappeared, replaced by plastic cards and mobile scans. More efficient, yes, but gone is the small, almost ceremonial act of receiving your ticket. For many, that tiny piece of paper symbolized more than a bus ride. It was a token of the daily journeys that made up the fabric of life. Number 2. Top of the Pops. Thursday evenings meant one thing in countless British homes: the opening notes of Top of the Pops. In the 80s, it wasn't just a music program, it was the place to see the UK charts come alive. You'd watch your favourite singers perform, sometimes live, sometimes miming, and discovered new bands that might just become your next obsession. Families would gather in the living room, the television casting a warm glow as presenters counted down to the #1 single. There was always excitement. Would your song be higher in the charts this week? Would there be a surprise performance? The show brought music into the heart of the home, creating moments that stuck with you. On Friday, everyone at school or work would talk about last night's show. Today, music videos are just a click away, but the shared experience is gone. Back then, you couldn't pause, rewind, or watch later. You had to be there in the moment. Top of the Pops wasn't just about the music. It was about being part of something bigger, a national moment that connected people through melody and rhythm. The sense of neighbourhood. More than any gadget, shop, or TV show, what people miss most from the 1980s is the feeling of community. Streets had their own rhythm, their own heartbeat. Neighbours knew each other's names, birthdays, and the little details of daily life. Children played outside until the streetlights came on. Games of football and hopscotch spilling across pavements. Parents chatted over garden fences, shared cups of tea, and kept an eye on each other's kids without being asked. You could borrow a cup of sugar without feeling awkward. There was trust, a sense that you belonged, that you were part of something. Of course, the world wasn't perfect, but there was warmth in those small, everyday connections. Today, life moves faster, and our attention is pulled in 100 directions. But when people think back to the 80s, they remember that steady hum of familiarity. It wasn't just where you lived, it was home in every sense of the word. The sense of neighbourhood was the invisible thread that tied people together, and for many, it remains the most cherished memory of all. The 1980s in Great Britain weren't just a decade, they were a feeling. A time when the world felt a little smaller, but our connections felt bigger. It was the warmth of a neighbour's wave, the excitement of Thursday night's Top of the Pops, the comfort of routines like the milkman's early delivery or the clink of coins in a red phone box. Life moved at a slower pace, giving space for moments to breathe. Yes, times have changed, streets are busier, technology has reshaped how we live, but the memories remain vivid. They remind us that joy often came from the simplest things. Maybe that's why we look back, not just with nostalgia, but with gratitude for the experiences that shaped us. If you remember those days, share your favorite 80s memory in the comments, and let's keep those stories alive for the next generation.